Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Let's Get Better, and today we follow up on last week's anatomy episode, which was about arms, and today we'll be talking about legs. I'm going to explain a little bit about the bone structure, the muscles, some rules and guidelines, and then show you a few ways how you can practice your legs, their movement, and the shape of the legs. Alright? Okay, so let's begin. Here we have the bones. I did not draw this. I just stolen this from the internet, I guess. And the fun thing about these bones is, of course, the names. But a thing you need to know is the direction of how they go, which you need to sort of like study to really get it right and to understand what's going on underneath the skin and underneath the muscles. So the first thing that comes to mind when showing this is that you can simplify these the pelvis into discs, right? Maybe this is the wrong color. Hang on. Is there a better color? Maybe this. Okay, so you can simplify the pelvis as two discs, and then these can just be, these are kind of simple shapes already. But as you can see that they go out and they touch the skin over here, right? And unless there's people that are really fat, you know, but most of the time you can always see this part of the bone right underneath the skin. So that's a good thing to know when you're drawing a person, a body, and you come to the legs. There's always this sort of there's this dip, you know, which you can see here as well, and then there's always, then you know that there's the bone sticking out, touching the skin, almost touching the surface, and then disappearing again, and the muscles flow over it, which we come later on. I will show you how the muscles are attached and how they're flowing over the bone towards the knee. But an important thing to notice when you are looking at this is there's a movement that is going inwards, so it's sticking out here, but there's like this rotating thing happening to the bone where it's going inwards, and then meeting here at the knee, and then as you can see the skin, and well, I will also show this to you when we handle the muscles. There's another movement which is again going from out to in, where this is like the same thing happening, where this piece of bone is almost always, unless people are really fat, I'm sorry to say it, but they're really fat, then this is sometimes not visible, but pretty much with all the other people, you will see that this bone almost always touches the surface, just like this one, which you can well, take special care at when you're drawing it. Then there's this movement of overlapping shapes, where you can just have this being the head of the knees, you know, and then this comes out again, which is the fibula. It's the small one, and then it goes out and goes down towards the ankle, and this is of course the chin, but it's the tibia is the name, but it's like this is the chin bone, right? Or not the chin, well, maybe you'd say it's shin, I'm not sure. Anyway, so this is a good thing to study. I would recommend, if you're trying to be serious about anatomy, then try and find a good picture like this one. You can just Google human leg anatomy, and you will get loads and loads of drawings and pictures and whatever, and you can just draw this just like this. This is a drawn image, and try to reproduce this so that you can really sort of like understand and what's going on. underneath the skin and underneath the muscles when you are trying to study anatomy. And again, you can simply, you can simplify this by just creating this one, the pelvis into two discs, which can be a disc over here as well, and then just going down and taking special care of that movement, which is going out in, and then you have a simplified form like that. But we will handle that in a bit when we come down to some ways that you can practice the leg anatomy, and how you can give them gestures and movement and stuff like that. Okay, so next we talk about the muscles, and here you can also see where I showed the in and out, but here we go. Right, okay, so this is this is another drawing. It's not mine, I found this on the internet, but it's really well done, and it's really show you good, like the important muscles of what make up the human leg, right? And what I was just saying earlier, this is exactly what I was saying earlier. You have these muscles that are if this is the front, so the pelvis would be here, right? And then the, oh sorry, this is a bit wrong. Let me just see if I can find it here. Like right here, this is where the femur bone, the head of the femur, is coming out, and it's going down here, and this is where the kneecap is. You can see this, it's going like that, and then you have the bones over here. But yeah, anyway, an important thing to notice is that almost all the legs in the muscle, almost all the muscles in the leg are attached to the pelvis over here. And I think I did not put the names in, but I mean, yeah, these are all like Latin names, and I can't even remember them. I think I used to know some of them, but yeah, I kind of forgot. I know this is the hamstring, but that's also not a Latin name, so I'm not sure what we call this in Latin. But anyway, an important thing to notice again is the movement, where this muscle right here is going from the outward to the inward, just like when we saw with the bone structure, where it's going out and then in towards the knee. And then there's the other bone that is going from muscle, which is going from the side, as you can see here. So having kind of a trouble with getting a good, yeah, okay, this is better. Which is going from the outside. Sorry, this is the inside. As you can see, this is this is where the stuff would be, you know. And then it's going from outside and going inside above the knee. If you stretch your leg, you can probably feel this muscle. And then on the other side, you have this muscle, and this one is a little bit lower, right? This ends a little bit lower than this one, so you get that knee anatomy like this. And then remember that, yeah, I can't really remember what this is called again. I should have probably prepared a little better to with all these muscle names. But important thing to realize and to remember and to also practice is that you draw, just like as the bones, draw all of these, you know, because it's a good way to sort of memorize, to just so you have drawn all of them, you know, so you know what's happening where, especially with the forms, and you can find out what muscles and how they work, and what it sort of like looks like when you take away the skin. It will give you a lot of knowledge that you can use in your artwork. Okay, so another thing is like a rule and a guideline that you can remember, which is that the distance between the bottom of the foot and like right underneath the kneecap, or sort of like, yeah, right underneath it, is the same amount, it's the same size as it being it from that point towards where the inside of the leg. I think I've shown this somewhere, yeah, over here. You can see it, that this is the same size as this. So if you end up drawing, or if you're going to be drawing legs and whatever, you can notice that you can take special care that it makes sure that this part is just as large as this part. That's like a guideline, just as with the arms last week, where I said like the top of the arm and then the elbow is about the same height as the belly button. Something you can sort of like it's like a rule of thumb, right? It's like something you can remember when you're drawing and you're not entirely sure how long an arm should be or where it should be. Then you can just measure it from other points of the body, and there's a whole range of these kind of like little shortcuts or like rules, guidelines that you can take to sort of check on yourself if you are doing the right thing. And I think I mentioned him last week, or yeah, I mentioned him probably last week, and I also mentioned him during the gesture episode that we did a while ago. Check out Andrew Loomis's books. I'll write it down quickly. Andrew Loomis, which are kind of old books, but they're free of charge to download them. And definitely look it up. If you Google him, you will most definitely get the PDFs. And another great I think drawer or artist that made some very cool and good anatomy books is George Bridgman without the E. You know, it's still Bridgman, but there's no E. And I think his books are the same age, or around the same age, or maybe a lot, maybe I'm totally wrong with this, but as Andrew Loomis. So I think some of them might be downloadable free of charge. Otherwise they are also for sale, I'm sure, and it's definitely worth it, because also with this, just like I say almost every week with these studies, it's much better to do these traditional with a pencil in your sketchbook than on a digital medium like Photoshop, because you just get much more of a feeling. You're much more correcting yourself in an actual way, and it takes a little longer to do it, so it sort of like leaves more of a mark in your brain, I guess. Okay, so yeah, next I'll show you some ways that you can do some quick studies and some quick ways on how you can improve on your leg drawing skills, and yeah, some fun exercise that you can do yourself. Okay, and we're back, and okay, so a good way to exercise legs is of course to do some very simple and simplified drawings of them, like I showed you with the bones. You can make sort of like a simplified version of it, and where you use the pelvis just pretty much as a disc connected with each other, which this sort of like represents a pelvis, right? And then you can just do the bone structure underneath, and you try and get this working as good as possible, and you can just make some fun poses with them, and you try to give them some balance, just as what you would do with gesture drawing. Now, I think this is a little wide, but let's try it again. Let's try one from the side, where maybe it's a walking one, or and a good thing to try and do is to check yourself if you're making if you're using the right proportions. Oh, sorry. Like, am I doing this right? I think I am. Hang on. This one should be a little lower. This one should be a little lower too. Like, am I using the right proportions? Does this, yeah, see? This is, like I said, this would be about where the junk is, and then this would be the same size as it being stretched out like that. So that's good. So you can check yourself on that. And this would be, yeah, like I said, this would be a good way of trying different movements, trying different gestures, and also learning to use the right proportions for the legs. So you can do yeah, so you can do better when you're drawing your own characters, so the legs make much more sense. I'm sorry, when I'm drawing I'm a little bit quiet because I'm trying to concentrate to do this right, because I don't want to look like a total fool. But yeah, so this is a good way of trying and studying. And of course, when you want to take these a step further, what you could do is take a new layer, or, well, in your case, maybe if you're doing this with pencil, take a darker pencil, and then just try and imagine, or try and not so much imagine, but try to lay over the skin. Like, how would this look? You know, how would this, what forms would happen? Like for this one, I think, of course, you gotta be aware of that point over there, and then, well, this seems to be a bit of a, maybe a little bit of a bigger person. But yeah, okay. So this is the muscle, you know, that is coming over from that side and going inwards, just like the bone. Of course, you have the muscle here. You have the kneecap. So you can just imagine that the knee would be here. There's the other bone that's coming to the surface here. You have the back muscles. Of course, you have the bone going that way. I don't think you will see, because it's like this. Don't think you would see it over there, but, and then you have the ankle and the toes and the feet, and on the other side you will have probably have the same thing going on. You have the femur sticking out over here, and then you would have the muscle that comes in. You will have the knee happening. You have another bone sticking over there, and the muscles coming out, and the ankle. And this is totally wrong. As you can see, the upper leg is definitely too long. Hang on. So, but that's a good thing. I mean, you gotta make mistakes, right? At some point, like, the more you do this, and the more you sort of like realize when stuff is going wrong, and you can either correct it or just leave it be. But I'm trying to set a good example here. Okay, so this is a little better. It's not great, but he's really wide to be as well, but these are not ideal. Okay, so here again, you could just try and make up the skin, like what would be happening. You got the muscle, you got the hamstring going down, and you got another feet. Yeah, studying feet is a whole different thing. You should also try and learn that as well, but let's take it one step at a time, right? Okay, so this is happening here. You have the back leg, you have the knee happening here. And there we go. And then you can, as you can see, this is quite fun to just, oh, sorry, to just be doing all these kind of things. And you can, yeah, make a more, study more of the form when you try and really foreshorten it. I'm gonna try that here. This is the buttocks, this is the back. It's gonna be the, at least trying this to be the back, but and you will notice that the more you study these shapes and the muscles, the more you start to feel the form and how they should be instead of what you think they are, because that's like one of the biggest problems when drawing from observation as well. Is a lot of people try to or draw things as they think they are instead of knowing or seeing how they are, which is kind of a problem because that's where a lot of the things go wrong. Yeah, so here's another one. Well, muscle over there, knee happening here. Oh, that's a little white. There we go. Remember, that's the muscle sticking out, or the bone sticking out. And we have feet. Ta-da! There's of course the ass, and this one. There's the knee, lower leg bones, and ta-ta. So there you got a few easy ways of practicing your legs and trying to get some movement in them. As you can see, this is fairly easily done, and I think with a little bit of practice you can definitely do this. And a very important thing to do this, to on the side do this, like, because this is fun to do, but it's also very important to make studies. And these are just some examples of legs and that you can study, I guess. What you would do, or what I would do, is I would take a pencil and a piece of paper, and I would try to copy this photo with a pencil, where I would just like really pay attention on the muscles, what they do, why they are doing, how they are flowing over the body and underneath the skin, and what's happening, like what kind of forms are there and why are they there, you know, is it the muscle, is it bone, and that way you start to just get much more familiar with the anatomy, and you will notice that in your drawings, when you're drawing when you're drawing legs from mind or on your characters, or when you need to manipulate them to create monsters or creatures or whatever, you actually have sort of like a basis to know what you're dealing with, and you can manipulate it, which will really influence your character design work and your creature design work, because knowing is key, you know, with art and concept art. Just knowing stuff is just, I guess, almost more important than practicing stuff. But you need to be able to get it on a piece of paper. You need to be able to show it, so practicing is very important as well. But okay, so again, with this, there's a few ways that you could do this. You can try and draw this, like try to draw it like one-on-one, you know, where it's an actual replica of the photo, what you're doing, which is really good. What you could also do is maybe take a picture of like the leg anatomy, you know, which we got over here with the muscles, Let me just see if I can take this and then remove this all. Ta-da. Alright. Okay, so now we go back to the photo. Where is it? Okay, this is it. Okay, yeah. So what you could do is you can try and take this photo and this certain stance, right, this pose, and then you can try and just fill in what is happening here. So this would be like, there's like this muscle going. As you can see, there's like these things. That's probably here, right? And then it goes over here. So there's something definitely happening there. And I'm doing, wait, this is wrong. This is the inside leg. I'm doing the inside leg. Well, no problem. I mean, then we can do it over here. As you can see, there's the muscle and it's coming in, and it's gonna be over here where it's attaching to the knee part, which is then flowing over here. And then there's this part which is coming out here. Oh. She doesn't have these large calves, but no problem. And there's a bit of muscle going here. Like with female anatomy, or like drawing these females, you need to, like, if you're doing this for fantasy art or whatever, and you're drawing these almost perfect women, then you don't really have to, like, a more beautiful standard. I think nowadays it's okay. I think muscled ladies are pretty cool, and I think it's really accepted. But there was a time where everything has to be like really smooth, and they're almost like, yeah, Barbie dolls, right? Barbie dolls doesn't, like, a Barbie doll doesn't have muscles. They have legs. Almost like, well, this is sort of muscled, but you know what I mean, right? So yeah, here we go, and then we go down. So this is a way of studying it as well, and then just learning what muscles are where, what they do. And now I'm just making up stuff, but this is, like I said, this is a good way of learning your anatomy. But what I would normally do is just grab a piece of paper and then just copy it. Just copy it with values, with tones, and try to make an almost exact replica of this picture. Same as with something like this, which is like, this is a much more muscled lady, you know, where you can really see the muscles right underneath the skin happening, like huge calves over here, which is almost like, yeah, this is great to work with. This is great to study, these kind of pictures. Also, it's fun to look at, but it's also, it's just, yeah, like I said, it's just giving you so much information, you know. It's giving you so much information about the forms, what's happening, and the more you do this, the more kind of studies that you do from this, the more you will sort of like feel the form and learn how to use it and manipulate it, so that when you've been drawing these kind of images, like these kind of studies, at some point when you have to draw something from your own mind, and you, even when you're doing it a whole different pose, for some reason you start to like feel and know like what's happening under the skin and how that is affecting the outside form. And that's where you want to be at, because then you can be, then you're able to just do stuff from imagination that will represent something that is almost realistic. And I think that's something that a lot of people, a lot of artists are after, you know. So anyway, this concludes this episode of Let's Get Better. I hope this was useful to you. I hope you found the inspiration in this to get ready and get working yourself, because well, you know, you can't just look at it and learn it. You have to go out there, you have to study it, you have to practice, and you have to try and learn as much as you can, because you'll never stop learning new stuff. So anyway, I hope you like it. Press a thumbs up if you did. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, it would be really cool if you did. And hopefully I'll see you next week Remember, every Wednesday there's a new episode. Probably every Monday and Friday there's new videos, either a morning sketching episode or just some random study or whatever it is. Yeah, thank you for watching and hopefully see you soon. Goodbye.